just a few weeks ago, a deadly mass shooting in Park Heights, just down the street from where the governor spoke earlier today. The governor says the state is safe and the city is safe, and people we spoke to here in Cherry Hill say Baltimore is safe.
Donald Trump, if you are not willing to walk our communities, keep our name out of your mouth.
Really? I'm not even sure that he's willing to walk his communities. That's the whole idea behind having to bring in people to make the city safe, because you, the governor, and also the mayor and everybody else that's involved in politics that voted y'all in based off of identity politics haven't been able to keep the place safe up to this point. Everybody know. I've been trying to get to Baltimore forever. I fly into Washington, D.C., and I realized, it's just a quick hop, skip, and a jump over there to Baltimore. And every single person that has either lived there or police officers or whoever it is doing security, often at times, what do they tell me? Anton, no, that's a no-go zone. They say that 90+% of Baltimore, which I don't know, but that's the reputation, and I'm pretty sure that Trump knows better than me, is a no-go zone. And you got this clown of a governor who was ranked the most disappointing governor in the United States of America sitting up here playing games.
Thursday morning, Governor Wes Moore made some of his strongest remarks toward President Trump yet, telling the president if he isn't willing to work with Baltimore and Maryland, don't say anything at all. The governor also invited the president to the city for a public safety walk in September. Earlier this month, Trump criticized Baltimore as he deployed the National Guard to D.C.
And then you have, of course, Baltimore and Oakland. We don't even mention that anymore. They're so far gone.
This is a community that does not look at Baltimore like a punchline. If you are not willing to be part of the solution, keep our names out of your mouth.
How many of y'all that live in these communities that y'all identify as underserved, I'm just curious, how many of y'all actually stand with this governor and stand with all of the black leaders that continue to use y'all as a punching bag, because instead of throwing everything that they got in order to make the community safer, and instead of doing that, what they keep doing is trying to move the goalposts and pretend like everything is cool and, oh my God, we're rejuking the stats, so now we have a reduction of crime, when the people that actually live in the communities are not safe. And I've said this over and over again. I don't think that anybody deserves a great job. You don't deserve $1 million. You don't deserve a great man. You don't deserve a phenomenal wife. But everybody in the United States of America should, at the very minimum, expect and deserve to be safe in their own environment and communities. And I almost don't even feel bad for the people in these communities, because these are the people that y'all voted for.
In response, the Maryland Freedom Caucus director was critical of the governor on social media. The caucus issued a follow-up statement saying the governor, in his best Will Smith impression, told the president 3 separate times to keep Baltimore's name out of his mouth while inviting him to the same city. The state Democratic Party called the social media post disgusting and said the caucus director resorted to racist name-calling of America's only sitting black governor. Meanwhile, community organizations like We Are Us are boots on the ground working in.
Yeah, we don't want to hear all of that no more. I just want to see a completely different narrative in our communities. And when I say our communities, I'm meaning the United States of America. Everybody is tired of the posturing and the, still using the whole racist thing in order to justify the fact that they will never solve for the problems inside of these communities. I've seen it be mismanaged funds. Schools is absolutely under collapse. If you go over to Chicago, the governor, J.B. Pritzker, while at the same time trying to talk back and forth with Trump, is telling Brandon Johnson in Chicago, y'all got to deal with y'all own $700+ million school shortfall and $1.2 to $1.6 billion budget deficit. Y'all got to deal with y'all own problems. Oakland, like the president said, I'm not sure if it's too far gone, and they just need to completely wipe the whole city across and start all over, because you can't save it at this point. And it's bad. It is bad. And I think that the people in these communities that is overran by drugs and homelessness and prostitution and gangs, they know that they can run roughshod in these communities, and they don't have anything that's stopping them. And thank God that Trump actually came into D.C. It's been 10 days, since they took over in 10 days with no murders. 10 days since they took over, 10 days with no murders, over 900 arrests, over 100 guns has been taken off the streets. And y'all gonna argue with those type of results when y'all say that y'all want the best for y'all communities? Why would anybody argue with that? Why would anybody refuse that except for to want to give the president credit? I don't care who gets the credit as long as the community is fixed and as long as the community is saved. Who cares who get the credit? His lives being saved and his public safety at risk.
Joined now by Mayor Brandon Scott, whose office responded tonight to the governor's letter and invitation to the president. Mayor Scott, we appreciate your time tonight. Among those commitments are additional resources for the ATF, the DEA, the FBI, the field offices in Baltimore. You're calling on President Trump to fulfill these. Now, two things that were not mentioned here: National Guard and additional funding for Baltimore police. Why is that?
Well, listen, first and foremost, we know that the National Guard is not the way. Now, that's not what those soldiers signed up to do. And we've proven here in Baltimore, as they did in D.C. and cities around the country.
The soldiers signed up for whatever it is the commander-in-chief dictated that they need to do. That's what they signed up for.
That we can have historic reductions of gun violence without the military, and we don't need that. But we have done this in part with our relationships with our local FBI, DEA, and ATF counterparts. And what we would allowing those folks to have more agents, Rick, would be allowing them to work alongside BPD, and that's why it's
allowing them to help you to make your city and your community safer, who has a decade's track record of not being that. Okay, cool.
Not additional resources of BPD, because this is a partnership. They are in partnership working each and every day with us. When I announced the expansion of the group violence reduction strategy last month, they were standing right there with us and allowing them to have more agents dedicated to going after gun traffickers, going after those bringing drugs into our community, going after those who are actually harming people, building cases, removing those organizations alongside the women and men of BPD. It's a part of what we've done to make the city a safer place. And whether the president comes to Baltimore or not, we want to see those resources, and we also want to see those public safety grants that they cut reinstated. We want to see him say, like many mayors have said, that there needs to be an outright ban on ghost guns and these Glock switches that are terrorizing communities across the country.
That's something
So his solution is basically to have them give them more money and resources that they can't even or haven't even been able to manage up to this point. That's their solution. Their solution is to beg Trump for money, but don't necessarily let him determine what happens in order to help make the city safer. Why are we so allergic to actually fully stopping crime in these communities? Listen, and again, I'm going to say it again. I'm not interested in seeing reductions. I'm interested in seeing it stop completely. And so, these mayors, again, and these governors, Wes Moore, I know he's trying to raise taxes. They're doing a lot of layoffs. Maryland is under duress because they basically running out all of the people that pay the majority of the taxes, the property taxes and all of that. And they're in the midst of trying to run them out of town by trying to raise taxes on them. And they spent all of their COVID money that was being given to them from Biden administration to the behest of international and national taxpayers. And they ran that into the ground. And now they're facing a budget deficit within the state of Maryland that he can't plug and he can't fill. And these people are trying to dictate what the federal government is supposed to be doing to make sure that the communities are safer. Right. Just give them more money. Giving more money to Baltimore is like throwing it into a black hole and giving it to the criminals themselves. Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. T-Chanley, 40% off your first order, 20% off for life. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to holler at you guys later. Peace.